Okay, so to start this video, I'm not sure, I think I said this to you in class today, but make sure you're skipping question 21 on this review. That one is much more difficult than I intended to make it. I'm pretty sure everybody wrote that in class today, though. All right, notice that questions 1 and 2 are just addition and subtraction. We did this last week, I think maybe a little bit the week before. So with addition and subtraction, make sure that your exponents stay the same. And then we're just combining like terms. So to get negative, let's see, on this first one, they've combined the 3x to the third with the negative 7x to the third. That's how they're getting negative 4. Notice the exponents don't change. This negative 2x squared has nothing to combine with, so it just drops down. And then they're going to combine negative 8 and positive 2 to get negative 6. On question 2, the only thing that's different is, remember, negative signs change all of the signs. So this is really, the question is negative 3 minus 4n plus 7n squared minus 6n minus 4. Make sure that you're changing both of these signs. And now again, we're just combining like terms. N squared, the 7n squared has nothing to go with, so we just copy it down. I can put negative 6 and negative 4 together to get negative 10. And then this negative 3 and negative 4 at the end give me negative 7. Notice that they are writing their answer in standard form where they count down by the exponents. All right, this next section where it says find the product, this is multiplying. Remember, when you multiply, you do change exponents. So on question number 3, when we distribute, that's just going to give me negative 8n. Negative times negative gives me positive 48. On question 4, 8 times negative 4 is negative 32, and notice r times r gives me r squared. Then when we do 8r times 1, we just get 8r. We can't do anything past that point because everything you're left with has different exponents, and you can't add things that are different together. Question 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 all get a little bit different, so I'm going to zoom in and kind of work each one of those a little bit more specifically. All right, question 5, you have two options. Remember, you can either double distribute. When you do that, you need to make sure that you get all of your pieces, or you can do the box, which I think, I personally think that you're going to do better if you do the box, but a few of you feel like that's confusing, so as long as you don't forget pieces, that's fine. When you multiply here then, you're going to get 48x squared, negative 30x. Notice I'm pulling these two numbers that I've written to multiply and get my different answers, negative 24x and positive 15. Even if you're distributing and not writing it in the box format, we should still get those same numbers. And then to get the final answer, the only thing they've done is combined. These two on the diagonal can go together, and that's where they're getting negative 54. The 48, you should notice, is already in my answer, and the 15 is already there. Neither of those have anything to combine with, which is where I'm getting this final answer right here. All right, question 6. If we go ahead and set this one up, we've got, let's see, 4n minus 4, 6n plus 6. It doesn't matter if you put like one of these on the top and one on the side. It doesn't matter which place they go, because you'll get the same answer in the end. So when I multiply 24n squared, I'm getting n squared because there's two n's. 24n, negative 24n, negative 24. And then notice that this time, these two that both have n's, they are opposite signs, so they're going to cancel each other out. So because they cancel, the only thing I'm left with is 24n squared minus 24. Question 7, set up the box again. 7x plus 1, 2x plus 8. When I multiply, 14x squared, 2x, 56x, and 8. And again, we'll combine these on the diagonal because they have the same exponents, the same variables, and that's how I'm going to get my final answer. Question 8. Go ahead and set this one up. All right, we've got 6n plus 5, 6n minus 5. That's going to give me 36n squared plus 30n minus 30n minus 25. And because these cancel on the diagonal, I'm just left with 36n squared minus 25. They cancel because they're exactly the opposite signs. Question 9. Remember question 9, you've got to like set up yourself first. The squared means that each of these parentheses happens twice. So the problem is really 2v plus 5 times 2v plus 5. So when I'm setting up my box, it's going to be the same on both sides. And then when I multiply, 4v squared plus 10v plus 10v plus 25. Notice that this time these 10v's don't cancel each other out because they're both positive. We're going to add them together, and that's where they're getting their final answer. Question 10. The box is really going to help here, just help you kind of keep organized with all the pieces you've got going on. Otherwise, you just need to make sure you distribute all 3 times. So I've got 6m plus 1, 3m squared minus 8m minus 4. Go through and do my multiplication. Negative 48m minus 24m, and that's actually m squared because I've got an m and an m from each one. 3m squared minus 8m minus 4. This time we've got 2 sets of things that can combine. I've got m squareds. Notice when I combine those, I get negative 45m squared. And I've got my negative 8 and negative 24, which gives me negative 32m as my final answer. Make sure you bring in the other pieces that aren't combining because they're still part of your answer. All right, question 8 is an example of a conjugate. Conjugates, remember, are when you have the pairs that look pretty much the same, except the only thing that's different, if you notice, the only thing different on 8 is that one is plus and one is minus, but everything else is exactly the same. They're special when you multiply them because 2 of your multiplication pieces are going to cancel, so you're going to be missing what we call the middle term. But really, the only thing you need to know is just that something cancels, and something is always going to cancel when you have conjugates. All right, if you've looked back at your notes, question 12 should be easy. You're just finding these different points. So I've got my vertex right here, which is at 3, 4. Remember, vertex is the turning point. Axis of symmetry is the line that cuts down the middle, and we use the x, so that's x equals 3. Domain is always all real numbers. Range comes from the y part of the vertex, so my range is y less than or equal to 4, less than because it's opening down. And then my y-intercept, that's where it crosses the y-axis. That's down here at negative 5. All right, that's my y-intercept. The part that we haven't talked a ton about, except for in your notes, was about roots. And roots, that's another word for x-intercepts. So all you're doing is identifying these 2 points where it's crossing or touching the x-axis. So the answer for roots is 1 and 5. And you just write them as separate things. You can't write like 1, 5 because they're 2 separate points. You need to know all of that vocabulary for tomorrow. All right, question 13 and 14 I'm going to talk about together. We did one of these in class today, but I'm just going to remind you of where I've gotten everything. All right, so minus 5 tells me to move down 5. On both of these, that ends up being my starting point. So I've started at negative 5 on question 13 and started at positive 2 on question 14. Also, because that's on the y-axis, that's where your y-intercept is coming from. Okay, now on both of these, we cannot use the first number as a slope because they're fractions. When we use fractions, we have to plug in numbers. To pick our numbers, we think about the denominator and we pick multiples. So on question 13, I picked 2 today, which meant I did 1/2 times 2 times 2. And I do that because it says x squared minus 5. And to multiply that, I multiply the tops. 1 times 2 times 2 is 4 over 2 minus 5. I know 4 divided by 2 is 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. So when I plugged in 2 for the x, I got negative 3 for the y. So the ordered pair I'm going to plot is 2, negative 3. Now, remember, we're not doing anything with the slope right now, so all I have to do is find the matching point, which is here on the other side, and then I can draw my parabola. The domain and range, hopefully you are getting that. Domain's always all real numbers. And then range, the y right here is at -5, and this vertex is also the y-intercept. So you can say y is greater than or equal to -5. On question 14, very similar, except this time I'm going to choose multiples of 3 to plug in since I can't use a slope. So this is -2 over 3 times 3 plus 2. Remember, I'm plugging in 3 for my x, so multiply the tops. Well, I wrote over my negative. -2 times 3 is going to be -18 over 3 plus 2, which is -6 plus 2. That's giving me -4. So I plugged in 3 for x and got -4 for y. So the ordered pair I'm going to plot is 3, -4, which is this point down here. And again, there is no slope. I'm just finding the matching point on the other side so that I can complete my parabola. All right, you all were pretty good on these, but really, really quickly. Remember, the first number tells you if it opens up or down. It also tells us the slope. My next number, this is going to tell me to move left 4, down 3. So I'm getting my vertex -4, 3. That's the first thing that we plot. And now because it's a whole number, I am allowed to use it as a slope. So I'm going to go up 2 into the right one, up 2 into the left one. Remember, you can only do that one time, and then make your parabola. And then all this other information you can get just from the vertex, really. The x comes from the x part for the axis. Domains, always all real numbers. Range y is greater than or equal, because we're opening up, to -3. We get the y value from the vertex. Very similarly, on question 16, the -3 in the front tells me it goes down. That's why I get less than or equal to on the range. Opposite means to move right 4 and down 3. All right, so there's my vertex, and then I use a slope of -3 over 1. Similarly on the other side, make my parabola, and then complete answering my questions using the vertex for the numbers. Okay, on question 17, most of this, so all of this top part you can find just by looking at the equation right now. So vertex, remember we do opposite on the inside, same on the outside, so that gives me 3, -2. Axis of symmetry then is x equals 3. The range is y is greater than or equal to -2 because we're opening up. Domain, always all real numbers. So the rest of the work that we have to do then is just to fix this equation so we can find the y-intercept. Remember, roots is always going to be a question mark, well, at least for this week. So to solve this, we got to do our multiplication here to begin with. X minus 3 times x minus 3. You can either do the box or you can distribute. If we distribute, you're going to get x squared minus 3x plus 9. If you do the box, you should get those same pieces. You can either combine like terms here, or you can wait until the very end, which is what I'm going to do. X squared minus 3x plus 9 plus, minus 2. Notice I'm just bringing down these other 2's that I haven't used yet. Then I'm going to distribute right here 4 times 2x squared minus 6x plus 18 minus 2. And then lastly, combine like terms that I have left. Y equals 2x squared minus 12x plus 16. So there's my standard form, and my y-intercept up here is going to end up being the number that's by itself, which you should see is 16. It's the number without the variable. Question 18, very similarly, I can do all the top part before I do anything else. So vertex is at 1, -4. Remember, you have to do the opposite on the inside. Axis of symmetry then is x equals 1. Domain's always all real numbers. Range is going to be y greater than or equal to -4 because it's opening up. And then I'm going to have to solve this to get my y-intercept. So x minus 1 times x minus 1. If I distribute, or even if you do the box, you should get x squared minus 1x plus 1. Then I'm going to bring my other numbers down. 4, x squared minus 1x plus 1 minus 4 at the end. It is just a coincidence that these numbers are the same on 17 and 18. That may not happen tomorrow. distribute my 4, so 4x squared minus 4x plus 4 minus 4, and then combine like terms. And notice that, so I've got y equals 4x squared. I've got negative 8x here, but plus 4 minus 4 right here, they cancel each other. So so that you still have a last number, you're probably going to want to write in plus 0, so that you don't forget then that your y-intercept is going to be 0. It has to be the number without the variables. And again, our roots are just going to be a question mark because we don't have a graph to look at, and we don't know how to do that from an equation just yet. All right, we're almost done. Question 21, we said to skip. Everything else we should be able to do. This is what you all practiced today. So remember to get x by itself. To undo multiplication right here, we're going to have to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by m, the whole thing. So your answer is going to be x equals p minus n all over m. 20 is almost the exact same problem, just different letters. So I'm dividing by m to get a by itself, so that the m's cancel. You're left with a equals n minus p all over m. Question 22 is a little different. This is not multiplication anymore. I'm trying to get a by itself, which means I have to subtract this away. So when I do that, you're going to get negative c plus r plus d. Or you may have written a equals r plus d minus c. That all means the same thing because the minus sign is still with the c no matter where you put it. If you need help, make sure you come to tutoring in the morning and be ready to ask any questions as soon as we start class so you have enough time to finish your test.